Mr. Richard Vickers. These are always a treat, man. I always love catching up with you, and I know lots been going on for you. Some making some moves and doing impactful things, doing some book writing. It's good to catch up. And you just informed me that this is Career Development Month. I think that's an impactful place to start. So,
Yeah.
how are you spending Career Development Month?
Yeah. A lot of people don't realize it in the business world, because it's basically my job day in and day out, um, that it's career development month. So corporations and companies have an opportunity to pour into their associates, their employees with skills development, training, learning, mentoring, pairing up people with others. And there's just a lot happening around the entire topic of career development month. People are learning how to advance their career and changing that mindset. You'll appreciate this, Carson, changing that mindset of a career ladder to more of a career lattice. Uh, you can go in a million different directions, sometimes taking a step down and then a step across, and then you get a step up. So a lot of teaching and learning across many corporations right now around this whole topic of career development. So it's
I love
fun.
it. You're always such a wordsmith. I love the way you articulate things, and what a great image. It's funny because I'm working on all my team's appraisals this week. I guess not coincidentally because it's always in November. But it's pretty incredible how I think a lot of us, I believe, came up with this mentality that careers would look a certain way, and they never do. I always like to say you can connect the dots backwards. You can't connect them forward. I don't know exactly where I'm going. I know the North Star that I'm pivoting toward, but I also, when I look back on my career, even though things didn't always make sense in the time, it always makes sense how it led me to where I am. And so I'm very grateful for that. And I think, leaders have a big responsibility. To really impart their knowledge of, as leaders, a lot of times we have an intimate knowledge of processes and, things that our contributors can do to better themselves. We have an intimate knowledge of that maybe they don't know. And to be able to impart that, to illuminate that for our people, can make all the difference in the world as they, go out on their path because they're in the thick of it. It's not making sense to them. And, sometimes we can shine a light on what they should do next.
Yeah, and I call that holding up a mirror. Everybody needs to be a mirror holder for someone else. You do that for me, and I've got several other board members in my life that uh, do that, and I feel like I do it for you. But the mirror holder is such an important role. Some people call it a mentor, some people call it a confidant, whatever that person is. Literally, all you're doing is showing me, oh, wait a minute, I need to adjust my collar, I need to press down my buttons, or whatever. But in our corporate life, that mirror holder is able to show us different things that may be a little bit off or things that we can't see that are now revealed to us because of this mirror holder. And it's a powerful thing that, and all of us need that, right? All of us need
Yes.
that person to be able to do that. And speaking of, I've been reading and watching. Of course, I've been doing a lot of writing myself, and I'm excited about the possibility of producing my book early next year. But your brand new book is out, and I want you to talk a little bit about that and the inspiration behind that, would you?
Yeah. No, thank you for that, Richard. And I'm excited to read yours. We were just talking about that. I think I'm most looking forward to your audiobook because I love the powerful radio voice that you've got and the way that you just bring poetry to these career concepts. Um, so my book was just published, and there was a very strong personal motivation to get it out while I was 45 years old. So I hit the deadline by a couple of days. The book is called The Show Must Go On, and it was born out of the post-pandemic world.
Right.
Um, Picture this. So, and I actually made a post about this week that was really kind of a big driving motivation around The Show Must Go On. Amidst the pandemic and post-pandemic, we've switched everything about how we work, how we interact. So much has changed, yet so much stays the same. The fundamentals are still there from career, from sales, from leadership.
Absolutely.
But what really resonated with me as I thought about some of these tough negotiations that I was going into, or the prospecting and the grind, or even the just back to back to back to back video calls that we sometimes have to do. 5 years ago, my team was relatively close geographically. Now they're spread out all over the place, and we support entirety of North America. So it's very rare that while I travel more than I did pre-pandemic, honestly, it's very rare that I have a release from some of that, and it's hard. It's hard to bring your best self every single day. I shared a vulnerable post this week about the guy that I see in the mirror there every morning is like, how does this guy keep going? Like, I've seen people quit with less, going
Yeah,
through less. And,
sure.
The show must go on is a song by Queen, one of my favorite bands. I used to listen to them all the time when I was a kid playing video games.
I
Love them to
still listen to
pieces.
them all the time.
Same here. And you know what I'm proud of is that I've instilled their magic in my kids. So like my 17-year-old can sing every one of their songs. I'm
Yeah.
proud of that. Um,
You
but
sh-
in the show must go on, the whole gist of it is, inside my heart is breaking, but I got to still go on. Like the makeup is going to hide it. I've still got to go out there. And I remember feeling distinctly that way a few years back when I was going through just some horrific negotiations with a customer on a significant deal. And I was the one who had to lead this thing. I was the one who was, sometimes I tell sellers, you got to be Batman, you got to be the hero that can be the villain. And, I was taking the flack. And we want that, right? We embrace it. With the good comes the bad. We
yeah.
want the glory, but it ain't all about glory. Sometimes you get just beaten to a pulp. And that's what the show must go on is all about, is that you will continue to be, you'll take the flack, you'll take the beatings, you'll but you got to press on. Whether you've got haters that don't like you, you've got things that unjustifiably, come up and get thrown at you, negative perceptions that you don't deserve. The show must go on, and that's what it's all about. So it's very personal, and I feel like it's something that everybody can relate to.
Well, I've been following all your posts about it, and I love a lot of the chapters in the book. And I want to talk about, if we've got time, at least 2 or 3 chapters.
Yeah.
But for me, what you just talked about, the Navy SEALs going through their training, they talk about getting up and making their bed and brushing their teeth and getting to their workout. They've got 3 victories. And they're like, okay, after the workout, I go to breakfast. And their next victory is making it to lunch. And the next victory after that is making it to dinner or supper, depending on what part of the country you're in. And I'm not going to quit today because I'm going to make it to supper. And they have these little goals because Navy SEAL training is the toughest in the world, right? And so they put in their mind, sometimes just making it through brushing their teeth is their next goal before they quit and, ring out, as they say. But that's why I love the concept of your book, because the show must go on is exactly talking about that. Because some days you get punched in the mouth, figuratively, and maybe literally, I don't know. and you just have to learn to turn the other cheek and keep moving forward. But I love the chapter about naming your superpower. What is your superpower? And recognizing maybe some superpowers in others. Talk a little bit about that chapter.
Yeah, and you and I have talked about the importance of uncovering why, especially in personal brand. And I think it goes even far beyond that. It's, as you really define yourself, it's important to be able to identify what is your superpower, what is your passion, what is your strength. You and I were talking before we hopped on about, I think personally, some things that you willed into existence for, what you wanted your dream job to be. I had a
Yeah.
manager years ago, actually multiple, that have kind of laid out for me that it's important to define what are your dream jobs attributes. Like if you were to write down your ideal job, what would it be? And then
Mm,
like putting it to paper, something about that makes it tangible. How can you apply that into what you do today? And it should
yeah.
be centered around your superpowers and your strengths. So what are those things that you do uniquely? What are those things that you do you're the best? What are the things that you do that can elevate everyone around you? And I'm an orchestrator. I'm a community builder. And I like to look at, if I see a customer or customer situation, how can I, with my unique, intimate knowledge of the resources at my disposal and
Mm.
everything else that's possible, how can I bring unique value to that organization to solve problems that they have? How can I bring unique value to other teams based on my passion and affinity for, going out and creating relationships with executives, or being able to, craft and negotiate strategic deals. These are things that not everyone can do. So think
Yeah.
about those things that you do that not everybody else can do, how you can leverage them to deliver a win to everyone you touch. If you deliver wins to everybody else, guess what? You're going to win. And that's the key thing. You're going to be known for these things that you love doing. And ultimately, somebody's going to say, wow, Richard is unbelievable at career development, and he's unbelievable at really illuminating career path for folks and training and coaching. We
Wow.
should put him into a role that we create for him. And that's how magic happens. I've had roles
Yeah.
created for me. I've had things that have transpired for me in my career because of those superpowers and my investment in those superpowers. We talk a lot about trying to fix all of our weaknesses and opportunities. I got more than I can count. I'm not trying to fix them. I'm trying to double down on my strengths.
Yeah, boy. And and what I love about your book is the chapters, and maybe it's just for me, not anyone else. Your chapters are relatively short, so you nail these
Yes.
topics and then you move on to another topic. And I love the superpower thing because I teach a course on difficult conversations, and maybe that's something you and I can riff on sometime. However, in difficult conversations, I talk to managers and leaders all the time that it is a tool that they have to have in their tool belt,
Mm.
or else they will never go up in their career. If they're, depending on how many difficult conversations you've had in your career thus far, that's your ceiling or your level that you will go next, because those are important to have in your superpower tool belt. Now, there's another chapter, Carson, that I find fascinating about who's in your head. Uh, because I think this is an unlock for a lot of people.
So I remember distinctly when this came to me. I was on vacation and I was I got up early in the morning while everybody was asleep, and I went out to the basketball court and I was shooting hoops. And, I was thinking about the basketball coach years ago that cut me. He said I had a low percentage shot. And so I worked hard. The next season, I came out, scored over 20 points a game. But who's in your head? I've got this manager who didn't believe in me, who, I was creating the processes that I use today, that I actually publish in my book, my $1 billion Moneyball sales prospecting process. And my manager didn't believe in it. They thought it was hokey. They didn't get it. They thought I needed to go do what everybody else was doing. And that person was in my head. They told me that I was, not effectively developing and creating pipeline. I've won awards for creating the most pipeline of anybody in the world at my company. My point is, somebody's in your head.
Yeah.
I think the greats come in with a chip on their shoulder, and you're trying to prove something to somebody. And
Sure.
you're not competing with anybody else. I'm competing with my own potential. And I think that's the key. What are the voices in your head that push you to be the best you can be?
Such great advice. And the reason why I love that so much is where your head, I had coaches all the time that would say, hey, where's your head at today?
Yeah.
Hey, Vickers, where's your head? And
Say that to my kids
I don't think
sometimes.
I don't think I ever knew what they meant, other than probably some derogatory term that where my head was at. However, now in my career, where your head is at is where you're going. Like if I'm biking, if I turn my head a certain direction when I'm pedaling my bike has a tendency to go. If you're driving your car, I told my daughter this the other day, if you turn your head, that's the direction the car ends up going. And such great advice where who's in your head and what's in your head. Great stuff. I think we got time maybe for one last one, because
Good.
I love this, and we probably need to do this again,
More
but I
often.
use this term all the time, and I think you close out your book with this phrase. But the best is yet to come is such a mindset shift for some people. But talk a little bit about that because I think you close your book with this.
I do. And for me, it's all about, I go back to two things. One, Frank Sinatra. That's my chill music. So when I think about like, just putting myself into a total chill mode, I think
I
about
love it.
Sinatra or the Eagles. And the other element is the abundance mindset. And that's what the best is yet to come really means for me. It's like I spend a lot of my time coaching my team and others and mentoring others on this element, and it's taking a balcony view approach to life. Now, this is something that I picked up from Hilke Faber, who wrote Taming Your Crocodiles. And we've done a podcast show together a few times. And what it's all about, Richard, is that ability to, there's always going to be chaos, getting to a place of controlled chaos or at least comfort amidst ambiguity so that you can take a balcony view of all the craziness, all the minutia, all the fires. They're always all going to be there. You've got to take a step back and be able to look at the sum of the parts and make sure that you're tackling your daily non-negotiables, making sure that you're actually advancing the ball down the field. That's where I think so many people stumble and fall. And there's no malice intended. They don't stumble and fall because they don't want to move the ball forward. They're doing the best they can. They're attending to this fire, that fire. And at the end of the day, they're exhausted and they feel like they got punched in the mouth. And don't get me wrong, we're all going to have days like that. I mean, some days I walk out and I tell my wife I feel like Rocky after Rocky 4, taking all those hits from Ivan Drago, right? But
Yeah.
the key thing is, can you take that balcony view and look at, the sum of the parts? The reason that it's all about the best is yet to come is because you're moving forward. You've got to identify these north stars, your anchors, the things that are, really important to you. And what's amazing to me at this stage in my life and career, I was talking to my kid the other day and it's like I have everything I've ever wanted in my life. It doesn't mean life is blissful. Life is still challenging. There's personal challenges, there's
Sure.
professional challenges, there's days that are awful. But the sum of the parts is I have worked hard, I've been resilient, I've been prayerful, I've been patient, and I have everything that I've ever wanted. And I believe that the best is yet to come because of the investments and deposits that you make. I did a gratitude challenge last year that was inspired by Anthony Iannarino, who's a famous sales author, and it was all
Yeah.
about this. It was about every day for 2 weeks, write down all the great things that happened to you that day, even if it was the worst day possible, and why they happened. And I had two realizations from that. Number one, the worst days, I actually had the most things I was grateful for. And the second is that the things that I was writing down, most of them happened because of things that I had done months ago, if not years ago.
Oh.
Investments that you make today will impact your future. That's why the best is yet to come.
Well, Carson, I tell you what, congratulations on your book, but the balcony view for me is such a great analogy because I think there are basement people that pull you down to the basement, to the darkness, to dampness, to coldness where there's not a lot of light. And we got to get rid of the basement people in our lives, and we got to
Yes.
have the balcony people in our lives. The people that say, "Hey, man, come up here to the balcony with me. Take a look at this beautiful sunrise. Have a cup of coffee, and let's learn from each other." And you, my friend, are one of those balcony people in my life.
Second.
And I cannot wait for all of our listeners and viewers to pick up a copy of your book because that's just 3 chapters. There's like 25, 26, 30 chapters in this book. So great stuff. Congratulations. And may it just bring so many people leadership and mindset shifts like you have done for me, sir.
You're the best, my friend. Thank you.